out there, YouTube? This is SEL0320 representing JVS. So I'm back here again for another movie review that I did not expect to review. I've been waiting to watch it in movie theaters, could not watch it. It was not available. It was a limited release run for it, but it officially released out digitally for you to be able to get. And I gotta say, Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15 is something I will buy. And not only will I buy it just on Blu-ray alone, but I will get the deluxe edition for Final Fantasy 15 that has that movie, in addition to that, the Brotherhood arc, which is the anime form, just because it is amazing. Like, from a visual immersion standpoint, from the way that they conceive the characters, from the way that I actually care about the characters, and I want to know, like, who King Regis is, who Nyx is, who, random characters that I wouldn't expect, like a character Crow, which is a female character which has this interesting mage kind of ability, which very early in the movie, like the way that they do the motion capture, the way they do the CG elementation, and the way that she revolves around two of the main characters in the movie, specifically Nyx and Ravus, I was like, I care about her character. And that's hard to do. Like, you just really don't understand that, because there's a lot of movies that have come out, especially animated films, that they have, you know, great kind of arcs, great stories, great ideas, but they don't go anywhere that keep you riveted, that keep you entertained from a action value and a story plot value. And this movie has both. But let's go ahead and just break this down. So from the visual effects and from the soundtrack, I gotta say this is top notch. Like, anybody that saw the last Appleseed movie, Appleseed Ex Machina, I think it was called just Appleseed. What is the last one called? I can't remember it. But from a CG and visual effects standpoint, it was top notch. It was hands down one of the best CG animes I'd ever seen, right? The problem with the movie was I just didn't care about it. And the action sequences didn't do anything for me. Didn't take Final Fantasy, let's say Advent Children, right? You got the characters that we know. We got Cloud. We got freaking all these other kind of characters that we know. Great action sequences, but it didn't extend anywhere. And then you got this movie that you got characters you've never seen before, plots you've never seen before, but the action is amazing. From the opening shots, when you get to see what these Kingsglaives actually do, which are technically, the Kingsglaive are like right-hand guards to the king. They get a certain amount of power from this crystal that the king himself has the authority of being able to work with. And so that's how they are utilizing their abilities to be able to protect the realm, essentially. And oh my gosh, when you see the opening shot and you see what's actually really kind of going down, to even towards the end sequence fight, and everything's going on, it was an emotional battle that I actually cared about. Like, it wasn't just these characters are fighting just to fight. Like, there's something going on here. There are reasons for things to either succeed or fail. And I cared, you know? It's one thing to have an action beat that actually happens, and another thing to capitalize on it that makes me take value to whatever the outcome is going to be. And I think that every single fight, every single moment of scenery, set piece, and even like the down moments of conversation, like even like Regis and like maybe Princess Yuna, or just small dialogue that happened from the past, it all ties in very well from an elemental standpoint, from a CG standpoint. Visually, it was just amazing. The way they captured it, the way they did the action, top notch, 10 out of 10 for me. The soundtrack was actually really well done too. Like, people are not going to notice it because there's so much going on as far as the story and the popping back and forth. But this soundtrack is top notch as well. So let's go ahead and move forward with the voice actors. They got some real talent here. So they've got Lena Headey from Game of Thrones. They got Aaron Paul that's playing technically one of the main characters in a role, Nyx. And then they got Sean Bean, who's actually the king, which is King Regis. And then they've got across the board kind of like no names essentially, but Trevor Duvall plays the role of Ravus. John DeMita that plays the role of Clarius. It's just, everybody brought it. And it wasn't just, matter of fact, the weird thing is I could have sworn that I heard Peter Dinklage. I don't know what the character's name was, but I swear that was Peter Dinklage's voice. But anyway, either way, I think that they did a great job of balancing these characters in the way that the story, it fundamentally moves where the classic kind of story, you got empire versus empire. You got one faction of people that have this idealized perspective, and then you got this other class that feels like they've been undertaken. They don't have the abilities as the other group, and so automatically they're at feud, they're at war, and you get to see in the very beginning of the movie what kind of is another catalyst for them going to the deep end, essentially. And King Regis is at the heart of it, Princess Yuna is at the intersection of it, and then his son. And the thing about the game, I haven't even talked to y'all about the game whatsoever. And if you looked at the trailers, you know that the game is more so about King Regis' son, right? And so, but this movie, this amazing piece of art, it stands alone but beyond the actual game. This is an extension to the story. This actually, to me, makes me want to play the game, if not more, to progress the story. And that's where I'll move into without any spoilers. This is a non-spoiler review, but I gotta say, man, like when you think about like the world, where you got like these random names, I think that the city that the king actually overlords is called the Insomnia, which is really weird. But then on top of that, you got the alternative, which they're kind of like the outsiders, and they kind of have this other wielding force behind them where they get to deploy these summoning called demons. And they're not, it's D-A-E-M-O-N. It's really weird, but like when they summon these creatures, it is nuts. But the actual city that King Regis has, because of the crystal, that has this barrier, this wall, and there's a rich backstory, this hidden gem in this movie, because by the end final sequences, you get to see what the old wall was, what the representation of it was. And even like there's this real interesting metaphor that even though the king is at this point where he's at the end of his life, he realizes he has to relent his power to someone, and he knows that his son is not that successor yet, and he knows that he wants to protect his realm. He has to compromise, but he knows that he can't trust the compromising piece that's kind of right there on the precipice of either going dark or going to the light. And I think that is really an interesting ballad from a metaphorical standpoint, and I think that I might be digging more into it, but when you start to see some of the things that kind of happen, like there's this one interesting villain that plays a role with the king, and he's a general of the other army. When you get to understand what he does from a 12-year span just to do what he's trying to do and what he's doing to achieve, like you will be like, wow. Like that was one of the things that hit me. That's one of the things I really want to talk to a spoiler review maybe. If y'all want me to, I'll be more than willing to, because this movie I will watch again and again because the action was on point. The story was actually riveting. It's an extension to a game. It's not like it's crippled by the game because I haven't played the game yet. I just know that this was a dope movie and I want to actually play the game now. So by far and mention, I would just say this was a fun ride. I give this movie between a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. I'm a huge anime nerd, and I'm even more of a huge CG junkie, and even better than that, sci-fi mysticism in terms of story-driven plot and making something authentic. And that's one of the reasons why you love Final Fantasy, because they take you to this explored place, but it's familiarized with different things that you see from normal reality, but then they kind of like just go broad with it. And I think this is one of the more modern of any of the franchises kind of games and now movies in an extension. So I highly recommend you check out Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15. I'm definitely recommend it to anybody that's out there. Joe hopefully is going to check it out. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below if you want to do a spoiler-filled review for it. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't going to stop. I got some work to do tonight. Peace.